I'm Nathan Judah. That is Wolverhampton Wanderers reporter. It is Mr. Liam Keane. Liam, it's really tough because obviously everyone's enjoying a heat wave back in England, and here it's just miserable every single day. Horrendous.
I mean, if I'm stood here any longer, I will not come back the same person. I'll be burnt to a crisp.
I mean, you are getting a little bit of colour.
A little bit of it.
A little bit. He's getting a little bit of colour.
A little bit of tanned. I like it.
It's cream. It's cream.
I'll say duck egg.
Okay, duck egg. Okay.
Oh, that's more of a blue, isn't it? I don't know.
What do you think, Pete? What do you think?
Eggy shade.
Show them.
I'm getting there. Look at
it's
that.
going to give you the bicep there.
It's a little bit shady, but it's fine.
Right, straight on with some news. Less of the pedantics. Right, okay. News this morning.
Yes.
We knew that transfer movement was inevitable. We knew that bids are going to be coming in, bids are going to be rejected, players are going to leave, players are going to come in. Marseille, interested, bid, put in for Hwang Hee-chan.
Absolutely. Roberto De Zerbi of Brighton, of course, formerly of Brighton, now in charge at Marseille. Big fan of Hwang, should be as well, because he's a good player, good Premier League player who's done well for Wolves, and of course had a brilliant season with 13 goals in all competitions for Wolves last year. So they came in with a bid, very quickly rejected, a bid of 21 million, so about 25 million in euros, we're talking 21.3 roughly in pounds. Which is a fairly solid bid, but
it's a decent bid, yeah.
Absolutely, but it's certainly not enough for Wolves to consider at this stage. Wolves are very adamant this player is not for sale under any circumstances. We know the way that football works, that every player has a price, of course. But for Wolves, his intrinsic value in many ways will be more perhaps than his transfer value on the face of it, because how much will Marseille be willing to test Wolves' resolve and make a big offer for him? Whereas for Wolves, they want forward players, they want to keep the forward players they've already got and add to that. Well, they obviously brought Larson in to add to that forward line, and Gary Neal and Wolves are desperate to keep Hwang Hee-chan for footballing reasons as well as off the pitch reasons. From a commercial and marketing point of view, he's a very, very big asset for Wolves. Far and away the biggest shirt seller last season, which we've said publicly on podcasts before as well, which is no secret. So yeah, I think for Wolves it's one that they're really, really keen to keep, and they're not entertaining bids at all. However, if a crazy bid comes in, of course I'll have to, take a look at it.
Well, I was going to say that. Look, it's interesting, isn't it? It's very rare that a first bid gets accepted by a football club, just as the nature of the transfer market these days. But you do expect, if Marseille are interested, they'll put an initial bid in, that they will be back in for a second bid and maybe a third bid. You'd expect that to happen, especially with a new manager going there, and if he's identified maybe one or two players, a bit like Lopetegui. He wants Kilman. He wants Kilman as his big guy, his biggest buy. He's got him. He's got the club captain. So, you want to impress, and you want to show willing to your new manager. If De Zerbi wants Hwang Hee-chan, then it'll be interesting to see what kind of a figure we're looking at, where Wolves might go, okay, well, we might have to seriously consider that. What do you think that fee would be?
Oh, it's tough, isn't it? It's tough. I think you've got to take in, as I say, the intrinsic value of what he offers off and on the pitch. I'd be tempted to go as high as 35.
I think you definitely need a 3, don't you?
I think you have to have a 3 on the front of it at the very least. And that will be very interesting to see how far Marseille are willing to test, as I say, Wolves' resolve. And you've got to bear in mind that a lot of European clubs outside of England, they don't often spend obviously Real Madrid and Barcelona are two examples that are different, Bayern Munich for example, but a club like Marseille in French football wouldn't often go out and spend big fees like this. You know what I mean? Are they going to go out and spend 35, 40 million pounds on a player from the Premier League? It doesn't often happen.
No.
So are they willing to go that far and really test Wolves' resolve? And then equally, what does the player think?
Sure.
Because Hwang's had the best season of his career, and certainly his best season in Wolves' colours last year. Obviously tailed off a little bit, but easily his best campaign. He's wanted, he will play. It's in the best league in the world, and don't get me wrong, Marseille are a big club, and they're a good club. But is it a step up, leaving Wolves and leaving the Premier League to go to Marseille? I don't think so.
No.
For my personal opinion, the player, and I'm sure they'll probably leverage it to, maybe he had a new contract fairly recently, but maybe get a few more incentives out of it, as often happens in football. But I'd be surprised if he would want that move, to be honest.
We talk about the forward line, and we talk about the necessity to bring players in and attacking players in, and obviously you've got Larson there, you've got Rodrigo Gomez. You've got players coming in that Wolves need to to hit the ground running, to score goals. Hwang Hee-chan, like you say, his value to Wolves is very, very high because he can play as a 9, he can play on the right hand side, he can play on the left hand side, he scores goals, he got 10 in 2023, you know, before the turn of the year. So this is very important. And you get some fans saying, well, he gets injured, he's here, there and everywhere. Yes, he does, as do a lot of other players as well. But when he is in the team, this guy scores goals, and that's very difficult to do at Premier League level. And he has scored a lot of goals. He finds himself, you know, they might not be the most attractive goals, but he is a player who gets himself in the right areas, and that's crucial to the way Wolves and Gary Neal want to operate.
Absolutely, and obviously we've not seen Larson yet in a competitive game, but for the players available that we have seen at Wolves, for me, he's Wolves' most natural finisher. I think he's clinical in the box if you get him in the right places. There were moments in that first half of last season when he was scoring goals that he maybe wasn't performing at his best, but he was popping up with important goals in important moments in games, and that's crucial to have that sort of instinct in the box. You can't buy that kind of instinct. Often you can't teach that kind of instinct as well.
For
so,
sure.
So to have a player like Hwang, who I believe that's one of his big strengths, it would be foolish, I think, of Wolves to let him go. Again, obviously, it depends if a massive bid comes in that's too difficult to turn down. We didn't think Wolves should sell Max Kilman, but that money was too good. You had to let him go. If a bid comes in that we feel and Wolves feel is too big, then I wouldn't criticise them for letting him go for the right money. But as it stands, 21 million isn't enough. He's a good player. He fits Wolves' system. He's versatile, and everything off the pitch as well. The way that he adds to the club's stature really overseas, it's really, really vital.
I'm going to play devil's advocate.
Here we go.
Okay, devil's advocate is, yes, we don't want to lose him. However, if selling Hwang Hee-chan and obviously Max Kilman means that Pedro Neto stays, make sure that Reinhard Nori stays, which means that they can give Nelson Semedo another couple of years on a deal. Is that something where you lose Hwang, you lose Max Kilman, but you keep those 3 or 4, João Gomez, let's say, you know, Mateus Cunha, if there's some bids in for him, but those players stay? Is there an argument to say maybe the 1 or 2 big potential sales this summer aren't the ones that we maybe thought were at the forefront of people's minds, and this is actually, if you're going to bring in 3 or 4 or 5 players off the back of these 2, actually a decent summer for Wolves?
Now you really have put me on the spot.
Sorry.
There. You really have.
Sorry.
Because as much as I've basically just argued that I don't want Hwang to go, and I think it'd be foolish of Wolves to sell him unless the big money's there. You do make a pretty compelling argument, because if you keep hold of those players, and that's a big if, by the way.
Of course, a massive if. Yeah.
Hypothetically,
and it's whether those players want to be there as well. Exactly.
But hypothetically, if you keep those and you've lost Kilman and Hwang, and I would like to think the Wolves would replace them as well.
Plus maybe the periphery of like maybe a Fabio or maybe a Guedes or something like that.
Exactly. And then there's a really strong argument to say that that would be a good summer.
Yeah, it's interesting.
But it also depends on the players that come in as well. The 3 players we've seen so far come in, really good business. If we see a couple of us coming to replace those 2, hypothetically, they would have to be strong first-team players, I think. So a lot of ifs and buts in there, but you do make a compelling argument. So it'd be an interesting one, won't it?
Still got a career after me, double glazing salesman.
Well, I wouldn't go that far.
Okay, no, definitely not assistant. Right, training today.
Yes.
Very interesting news. Players working hard, fitness again, and this was hot again today. And there was a new member at training today, an exclusive, a new person getting involved in training. I mean, you'll be excited to hear. Liam Keane, tell us more.
It wasn't me, it wasn't you.
It wasn't.
But
People would like to see that.
I know. But Gary O'Neill was sprinting around with the team on fitness drills which no player wants to do.
No.
It's not enjoyable.
No.
They know they have to do it. They go out there, and I tell you what, does it make it easier? Does it set an example having your gaffer running those drills with you? I think it does.
Are we still in great shape, by the way?
He's in good shape, Gazza. He is in good shape. And yeah, look, I mean, he's not just keeping up, he's giving them a run for their money. And I tell you what, and this is no disrespect to Gary Neal, but there's some players there that have got 20 years on Gary, and they're not going to want to see him in front.
Yeah.
They're going to want to see him behind. So it sets a great precedent. It sets a great example. You go out there, you put the effort in. Yeah, I'll tell you what, it was hard as well. And the players are going to see that. I think, right, I need to put my efforts here. I like that. It's hands-on. I really like it.
And motivationally,
absolutely,
for the players and for the staff. And it's great that he gets involved, and it's just an example to set for the players, isn't it? About not only having your gaffer there, but keeping yourself in that kind of shape throughout. You know, you want to be able to compete. You want to be able to get on the training field. Okay, we're one short. Well, I can still play. I can still sit in the middle of the park. I'm sure Gary can quite easily for a little bit of time. So yeah, it's fantastic. And like you say, just this camaraderie around the training camp massively helps to the cause.
Absolutely. A piece on the Professional Style website this morning. Yeah, if you haven't read it, why not? And yeah, looking at I suppose a contrast really in last summer to this summer, and this is another perfect example of it. I wish I'd known in time to put it in the piece that Gary was going to do that, because it's a perfect example.
We've got a few more weeks. I'm sure he might pop in for the odd training session again.
Exactly. Again, as a perfect example of just a different atmosphere around the team. There is a real togetherness, a real strong culture and atmosphere there, and it bodes well going into the season. They've got fresh faces there. They're not under any pressure to sell players as it stands, and Wolves are in a good place.
You mentioned fresh faces, and one of those fresh faces, an exclusive sit down with one today.
Mr. Rodrigo Gomez. Yes, there'll be plenty to come on the podcast, as well as in, as well as in the written word, coming up in the next few days. And so, lovely lad, really nice lad. He's definitely getting there with his English, and fair play to him, because he's working really hard on that. And really lovely young man, great to chat to, good insight into why Wolves and why he came to the club and what fans can expect from him. So you'll be able to read and hear some of it pretty soon.
Fair play for a 21-year-old to come and just turn 21, by the way.
Just turn 21, on the 7th.
Come to a brand new country, brand new club, and sit down within the first week of pre-season training with two journalists and sit down for 25, 30 minutes. You can't knock that, and speak, really good English. Those are the kind of characters that you root for in a season, Look, ability-wise, obviously he's second to none, and we hope he hits the ground running, but at the same time, you can't help but root for those kind of people. Yeah,
just a nice chap, you know what I mean? He's smiling, just wants to be there, happy, and that goes a long way for a football club, and particularly what the kind of players and the culture Wolves want to bring in and create. So, hats off to him. I'm looking forward to putting that out there.
Video done for today. Plenty more online at expressandstyle.com, and of course you've got your £2 subscription to get onto Plus. That's 6p a day. We shall see you tomorrow.